This video will show you how to complete internal audits using the AniMark Conformance System. Once you've logged in to the Auditee portal, you can access your internal audits in two ways. The first is directly from the dashboard under the Internal Audits box. If you click on the internal audit, you'll be taken to that internal audit checklist. The other way to navigate to the internal audits page is by clicking Internal Audits along the navigation bar. The internal audits page gives you filters so you can see open internal audits, which are ones due for completion, and submitted internal audits, which are ones that you've already completed. To start an internal audit in the system, you can simply click on that internal audit and it will open up the internal audit checklist. I've pre-filled some of this because it'll make it easier in just a moment, but I'll run through the functionalities and the buttons that you can see. This little bar along the top is just an indication of the workflow. So firstly, you complete the checklist, then there's a validation step, which makes sure that you've answered all of the questions, and then there's a submission page. So when you're on the checklist page, you have autosave on, which I recommend keeping on so you don't lose any information or data. You can save and validate, which basically performs the validation check, but I recommend waiting until you're finished until you do that one. You can increase the font size or decrease the font size as it appears on the screen, and you can refresh the page. This box on the left-hand side allows you to collapse and expand each checklist depending on what view you want to see. It also gives you an indication of what questions have been answered and what questions haven't been. So, for example, if we expand out this LGAP 1001 internal audit checklist, we can see that I've already provided answers for all of these questions. If we have a look at infrastructure and environment, however, we can see that there's two questions that still have a paper icon, meaning they haven't had an answer. A green box will appear if the answer is yes. If you answer no, it will be a red cross. So, what have we got in terms of the checklist itself? Each checklist will have subsections. As you can see, this one is the major subsection, and then we have infrastructure and equipment. Under each subsection, you have questions. So, for example, this is the question about infrastructure being designed properly. As you complete your internal audit around this question, you can then type comments into this comment box about what you've checked, how you checked it, take some photos. You can upload those photos as well if you like, not mandatory. Basically, you can add in details of what you've checked and why you think it's conforming. You can hit yes if it is conforming or no if it's not conforming. You can also add files by using the paperclip button. That'll open up a file upload screen, and then that's where you can attach photos and documents and pictures. You can use this memo button here as well. If you click onto it, it will open up some guidance on how to conform with that requirement and things that you might have in place that you could look at or check as part of the internal audit. It also gives you the requirement number from the LGAP standard as well. So, if you answer yes to the question, you can type into the comment box like I mentioned before. You can make it a little bit bigger by ticking on this expand box, and that gives you more space to type into. Just doing an example here, so just some example text you can type in about what you've checked. Say, for example, the date of the record you checked or the date you did the observational walkthrough about the infrastructure or equipment. If there are any issues that you have found, you can pop them in there as well. To close that, it will just save the comment there for you, and then you can move on to the next question. So if you do find a nonconformity and you want to raise it in the system, all you have to do is hit no. Hitting no triggers a nonconformity box to appear underneath that question. So you can activate it by clicking on this no box again, and that activates those fields. So you can add in the details of why it's a nonconformity. So for example, this one's saying infrastructure being in good repair and effective working order. Let's just make up an example and say a ramp was damaged. So if you know what corrective action has been taken to fix that, or you've done something yourself to take that corrective action, you can add that into the checklist here at the moment. Adding it in here just will save it in that non-conformity, and it will just be sitting there as a corrective action already taken. If you don't know what the corrective action is at this point in time, that's okay. You can come back to it later, or once you've submitted the internal audit, you'll have a non-conformity appear on your dashboard as an internal audit non-conformity. So there's a few ways you can do it depending on what the timing is of the corrective action. So you can do the same thing here. You can add in comments. You can attach files. So this would be a really good place for photos of what wasn't working or what wasn't in good repair. And again, you've got your memo as there as well. So if you don't have any corrective action at this point in time, that's fine. So once that's done, you can continue on moving down to the next question. So again, if we want yes, we can hit yes, and then we can type in our comments here. Again, if we want to hit no, so you can change the answer to the question as well. You can add in comments, add files, check what the guidance is if you really need to. So if it is no, you can hit no, it activates the fields, then you can add in as an example. And so for example, if you did have a corrective action, my good spelling, okay, and that will just save it in the system for you. So then once you feel like you're finished and you've gone through all the checklist, you can hit save and validate, and what that will do is it'll let you know if there's any questions you haven't answered. So if I untick this one here, for example, and now there's not yes or no selected, and I hit save and validate again, you get an error message. So this error message is saying this question isn't answered. So all we have to do is then select yes or no, depending on which one it is. And then we can hit save and validate again, and it's all good to go. If you toggle along then to validation, it will just tell you the same information. And then end internal audit is the last page, and this is where you come to submit. You don't have to type anything in the comments box. You just click the confirm button and then hit submit. Once you hit OK, that internal audit will disappear from your open internal audits on this page, and it will become available here for you. So as you can see, once you hit submit, it will take a little bit for the non-conformity to appear in the system here, but once it is, it will appear here, and you can add in any corrective actions that you like as well. Another function of the internal audits, I'll just show you quickly, is a way to request a change to your certification. So for example, you wanted to create a new market that you were exporting to, you wanted to handle a different type of livestock, or you wanted to simply update your contact details or let AniMark know about something differently. All you need to do is hit the new button here, and it gives you two options. So one is to renew your certification, and this will happen after that 3-year certification cycle has been completed. The other one is request a change to your certification. So if you click on that and hit save and close, it creates that in your system for you to complete. So let's just run through a quick example. On here we have a number of questions. You have the option to answer yes or not applicable depending on what the questions are. On the left hand side you can see all of the questions that might apply to you. So say we wanted to request a new livestock type. You're best off going NA along the top for all of them. And what that does is it says NA to all of them. Then go to request new livestock type, hit yes. So we're changing the answer to yes, this is one applicable to what you're doing. And you want to add a new livestock. So what we're going to type in here is I want to handle, let's just say sheep, and you're already handling cattle as an example. So once that's done, you can hit save and validate. All done. We'll just skip this validation tab and then we can end, confirm, submit. And what that will do is that will log that request change request back to AniMark, and then we'll make the necessary arrangements for you. You can also view the internal audits you've submitted in here, but no, you won't be able to change the answers once you've submitted them. And that's how to complete internal audits using the AniMark Conformance System.